Buongiorno and welcome to Super Respectable episode. I have no idea how many. My name is David Lewis, uh, reporting live from Venice, and with me is my co-host Toshio Rahman. How are you, Tosh?
I'm good. I'm good. Just to answer your question, it's episode 47.
47.
We
We're coming up to a year of
That's
Super Respectable,
crazy.
which is crazy. We should be patting ourselves on the back for persisting with
Yeah.
this very noble endeavor,
Yeah.
nice hobby.
His contribution to humanity.
Yes. So I think that's a very, very good achievement in this year of strangeness.
It's not even a year now. It's like more than a year. I think when this whole thing will be like wrapped up and finished. It'll be like
It'll be like the war in Afghanistan. Maybe it'll be 20 years from now. We're still doing stuff.
But let's live positive stuff. How is your vacation? How is Italy? How is Venice? You having a good time? You look
Yes.
tanned.
I am tanned a little bit, starting to get a bit of a glow. We were at the Venice Lido for the last week.
Nice.
So actually, we were staying at an Airbnb, which is on Venice itself, like what people know of as Venice. And then we took a little water bus taxi thing to the beach area, which was really nice because the beach is nice, clean water. There's good food around, and it's very easy, just spend the day there. And now we have this week where we're going to be touristing around the usual canal part of Venice. That's
cool. Is Venice one of those places where, like, if you're like a billionaire, you could spend $1 billion, and if you're not a billionaire, you could work on a budget? Is there a whole range of stuff there?
Yeah, so it was actually kind of interesting. Today, we went to the kind of George Clooney hotel because it's on the island we're staying on. And I'm like, let's go check it out.
Yeah.
It's called the Belmont Cipriani.
Yeah.
And it's really quite a fancy hotel. I think the starting nightly price is
expensive.
1,150 euros. I'm pretty sure that's the nightly base room price. So that's not cheap.
This is where George Clooney stays?
Yeah, so we went there for a drink because it's famous for the Bellini.
Yeah.
And when we got the menu, 2 or 3 of the drinks were like created by George.
By George.
Or he named them or something. I don't know.
When you know you're like so rich George. Jim, life is so easy.
So when we were there, there's like, because it's super expensive, you can't just, we showed up and we said, hey, could we have a drink? But it's not a very obvious place. Like, they're not advertising themselves. You have to go down this like alley, then you get buzzed in, you get a card if you kind of like meet there. I mean, I don't look too disheveled right now.
Yeah. There's like a dress code.
And then you go, there's a dress code, but they kind of just judge it. They kind of like, okay, if you have socks and sandals and a big camera, like they don't want you there.
Yeah.
But once you're in, it's pretty cool. Like, but then the other thing I was saying was kind of what you were mentioning, like, what's it like to be rich versus on the other end of the spectrum in Venice? I'm like, what can you do here if you're a billionaire? Like, could your experience be like times 10 that of
it's a good way of putting it.
Average person? So like when we were at this place, I was looking around. These people, everyone around me looked rich. They just had a look.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them had plastic surgery or Botox, or their lips were fatter and folded up. And some of them, I'm like, why are you doing that? You're making yourself look worse, not better. Just age gracefully.
Yeah.
But I mean, some of these people, like some rich people, you can't tell because they're so rich, they just wear jeans and a ripped t-shirt. They don't care.
Yeah.
Right. But these people are ones who are just like, they just look expensive.
Yeah.
Even when they're swimming, their swimming trunks look expensive. Their sunglasses look expensive.
Yeah.
And I was saying to my girlfriend, like, do you think this is the top? Like, if you're a billionaire, would you come here? Or what do they do? Or what level of society are we looking at here?
Yeah.
And we're saying like, okay, maybe for someone who's on a slightly higher end of the wealth spectrum, maybe like a Mark Zuckerberg or Warren Buffett kind of level, they wouldn't mingle with anybody. They would find a way to have their own like private island or villa or private.
They're not like normal rich people.
They would try and like limit their exposure to regular humans. Is what I would think.
Yeah. For sure.
Because this is like this Belmont place is essentially a little cocoon away from everybody else,
Yeah.
but you're still surrounded by other rich people. So if you're
Yeah.
super, super rich, you're just with your family or your lover or your mistress or whatever.
Yeah, the Belmont is show off rich, and then like,
show off rich. There you go. You nailed it.
But do you think in Venice, like if you were super super rich or show off rich, like your experience would be different? Are there things to do that rich people can do that average people can't do, or is it just the quality?
I think maybe some things, but like okay, for example, to get around Venice, you have to take a boat.
Right.
So most people will take the public transport.
They might get.
I'm sure they would pay for like their private taxi, which is super expensive.
Yeah.
And they're nice. They look very glamorous. So sure, that's one thing.
Maybe eat at certain restaurants that maybe
because it is very hard in Venice to not get scammed with kind of crappy tourist food. So for sure,
the rich people would have like
nice
chefs
restaurants
to their yacht and like cook.
I'm pretty sure that's one of them. They would get their own chefs because I was looking at some of the restaurants here, and we're going to try and go to like one or two nice restaurants while we're here. Yeah. The thing is, we mentioned this, I think, in the Michelin podcast episode, where like some of this fancy food, even if you can afford it, you wouldn't want to have it for dinner every night. Because like you don't want to have like very small plates of stuff, and it's going to like mess with your stomach if you have this new foamy stuff every single night. Yeah, sometimes you just want a plate of pasta.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's limits to like if you have unlimited funds, you kind of want to just like, have the highs, mediums, and lows, not always the highest.
Yeah.
That's just me. Some people will go for the highs all the time.
Yeah. That's deep.
But actually, what I want to do with this episode is I was thinking about, so the last time we talked about or recorded from Venice, I talked about the Plague Islands that were part of Venice. And I was thinking about talking about some of the other islands of Venice. And then I thought, we talk about islands quite a lot. So let's change it up. Let's change it up a little bit.
Surprisingly too much.
So yeah, quite a bit. But islands are interesting, so they're worth talking about. But not today, ladies and gentlemen. What I wanted to do was some of the do's and don'ts of being a tourist.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And specifically being a tourist in Italy, but we can generalize it and expand it if you like. So I've made my own list, and some of it's been kind of cribbed from various online resources, but some from my own experience traveling to Italy over the years.
Yeah.
And from my notes, there's a longer list of don'ts than there is a list of do's. I think that's generally the case with most things. What do you want me to start with, the do's or the don'ts, or do you want me to mix it up?
You choose. I think mix up would be a cool. Like how about for every positive a negative, or vice versa? Like we can just balance it out.
Okay, I'll try and balance it, but like I said, we're gonna end up with more don'ts. Let's see how we go.
Okay.
And you can tell me whether you agree or not. But generally speaking, they're hard to disagree with. So number one, a do. So when you're in Italy, you should order and drink your coffee at the bar. That's the thing to do.
Yeah.
Of course, if you feel like sitting down at a table and taking your time with your coffee, that's perfectly within your right.
Yeah.
But after breakfast, most Italians will have their espresso at the bar very quickly. And a key difference and a key reason for doing this is that it's cheaper.
Oh.
If you order at the bar and drink it at the bar versus sitting down, there's a table price and a bar price. And some tourists, when they come to Italy, they'll think, hey, that's not fair. That person paid €1 and we paid $2.50.
Yeah.
That's because you sat down. That's the reason why.
Is it big? Why? What's the reasoning behind? Is it Italian culture? Is it that they want you to like not spend time in a restaurant so they can get more people? Is there an economic?
My rationale or understanding is possibly wrong, but that if table service requires employment of staff, and that has more costs, so maybe if there's just one person behind the bar giving you the coffee, it's just more efficient for everybody involved.
And it's usually correct me if I'm wrong too. Like usually, like we have westernized coffee in the sense that we have these like extra tall lattes and stuff. But we're espressos,
Cappuccinos.
right? Like a quick little like
Yeah.
2-3 minute thing, and then I'm on my way, sort of thing. Not like a sit down and spend half my time at the cafe and waste.
They're pretty quick things. And the
Yeah.
thing is, to be honest, I don't really like espresso. It's too bitter.
Yeah.
So whenever I order coffee at the bar, I'll get like a macchiato, which has like a bit of milk in it.
Yeah.
Because I just find the plain espresso too bitter, and I'm like, I actually don't enjoy it. So,
Yeah.
I know that's a cool, like, sexy thing to do when you're in Italy, but truth be told, it's not my thing.
Is it true? Sorry, honestly, is it true that I don't know, Westerners are the ones, like Americans, we were the ones who kind of, I'm not we, but like, you know, like North Americans were the ones who came up with the idea of like coffee to go, like takeaway, and like little cups with sleeves and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I guess I didn't add that to the list, but that's
Like, do
probably
you see Italians walking around
like
with
don't unless you're in maybe like Milan, which is more of like a business city than the rest.
Yeah,
that's just not something that you would see, because I kind of find that like in the UK and in the Anglo world, there's like an enjoyment that people get from showing that they got coffee.
Yeah,
I feel like they're like showing that they went to
totally
Starbucks and
totally
like look what I did.
Totally.
And like, what? So in Italian, I think that is just doesn't compute. They're like, why eating in the street, eating while you're moving, drinking while you're moving? They're like, don't do that.
It's so interesting. I'll let you. It's a very good point you make, and I've actually noticed in Eastern cultures or actually outside of North America, I've noticed that people don't really walk and eat at the same time. They kind of sit down and enjoy their meal or their food or their snack, and we're the only ones with like a coffee and like a bagel.
It's kind of like the hustle culture, the rush, and gotta be made to be. And I think if the Italians would just think that's weird. Like, why are you in such a? Why is your life okay? Why are you doing that to yourself?
I think one of the reasons is like we've always talked about how North Americans do a really shit job, pardon my French, with food culture. Whereas I'm assuming in Italy, like food is an important part of life. So sit down, enjoy it, like take a break from life, like et cetera, et cetera. Or we're just like,
you shove it down.
Sorry.
Sure.
Okay, so that's a do.
But then okay, I'll have a don't, and so the don't is related to this coffee one. So. No cappuccinos after 11 a.m. That's a big no-no.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So that's definitely gonna like highlight you as a foreigner if you go into a place and say, "Yeah, I'd like a cappuccino, please," at 3 p.m.
Yeah.
Because the reason is, for an Italian, they consider like the milk, like a lot of milk added to a coffee, as like a breakfast.
Oh.
They think it's kind of like an Italian breakfast is basically a croissant. Or a baked good and a coffee, but like with milk, like a lot of milk. That's when it's kind of an acceptable thing to do. Yeah. In the afternoon, they'll think like that's too heavy. You've had some lunch or dinner. Yeah. They're like, why would you do that to yourself to fill yourself up? Have an espresso or have something like just to gracefully end the meal. But that's a no.
I'm in a cappuccino phase right now here, so I'm going to implement that rule just for myself, just so I can feel like that's.
Yeah. Just so you can feel pretty nice about it.
But all other drinks are safe game. There's no time limits on other drinks.
So basically,
anything milk related, I guess, would
like any heavy milk related ones are generally frowned upon after. There's a debate whether it's like 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. But generally speaking, after like breakfast time.
You guys, you know how here like we have too many rights, and it comes to food where it's like I need almond milk and like oat milk and hazelnut milk. Do they have all that garbage in Italy, or they're like, no, just take our dairy milk?
It's funny you say that because we went out to get have our coffee this morning.
Yeah,
and there was a German tourist who asked for like some different kind of milk,
like an Americano
coffee,
milk or something.
And I know enough Italian to say the guy said no. He's like he just laughed at her and he's like, we have milk or get out.
Yeah, it's way too many milks.
There's just I just think there's too many options. Like
too many, man.
When they say like, would you like a large? They don't even say like large, medium, small cappuccino. They're like cappuccino is a cappuccino. They wouldn't say like, do you want a super size, whatever.
No frappuccino. No all that.
Oh god, there is a Starbucks in Italy. I think there's one Starbucks in Milan. I went to it. It's just over the top. I don't even think at that one you can order the usual like syrupy things.
Yeah,
I think they would get run out of town if they did that. And the great thing about Italy, I mean, like I said, I'm not a big fan of espresso, but it's cheap. Like a cappuccino and these things when you go to Starbucks, it's so expensive, but here it's like €1 for a
That's good.
coffee, or maybe 150 for a cappuccino.
It's important. I mean, I don't go to Starbucks for other reasons too, but even at my local coffee shop, like I think coffee should always be cheap because it's like an everyday sort of like a staple for most people. That's what I like. I would definitely pay €1. Maybe these people, I'm assuming most Italians will probably go to a coffee shop 2 or 3 times a day at least.
They go a few times a day, and so it's priced accordingly, so they can just go in and out. It's quite sociable.
Cool.
And that's the other thing why it's meant to be a social thing. Whereas like we'll grab
Right.
the coffee and like run off to work, or like have it on the metro or something,
Yeah.
or in the car. It's more like a conversational thing. Okay, let's move on.
Do.
What should I do next? Do say buongiorno or buonasera instead of ciao. So try to like designate the time of day in your greeting instead of ciao, which is more like
all day.
If I know you, or it's a bit more casual.
Yeah.
I don't know if enough Italian that I'm a bit guilty where I'll just go ciao ciao.
Yeah.
But that's very like a casual way of doing it. So try and say buongiorno, buonasera, all that sort of stuff.
I think that's a really important point. I definitely agree with you. If you're going to a country, I'll just take it to a larger point of view, like make an effort to learn at least the basics, and the people respect that. And if you can know the intricacies of like when to say certain things, where and what, and all dialect, it's even better. Like when I was in Hong Kong, I was saying hello, this and that. And then our mutual friend Marcus was like, oh, you should say it in this dialect because this is Mandarin or this is Cantonese, and they actually prefer Mandarin. And so like then I switched over. But like, people, I think, especially in touristy cities, I mean, they see tourists all day long. So they're probably like, oh, this American who got his cappuccino at 3:00, and he's saying, but that'd be cool. That's a cool thing. I think it becomes habitual too, right? The longer you
stay. I mean, whenever I go to Italy, so like my girlfriend Federica is half Italian.
Right.
And so I kind of I was saying to her last night, whenever I come here, I kind of go here just kind of giddy and like looking around, not as normal tourist would, because she speaks Italian to the waiter. She does a lot of the like heavy lifting because it's just natural, right? She speaks Italian and she'll do the interaction with the waiter. And so I feel like I get treated so much more, so much better than maybe the average tourist. I don't think I have the same experience because they're so happy to have this normal interaction. And I'll try and just chime on with the grazie, per favore, and basics. But you're right. Like it is a really thing about basic respect and decency to have like please, thank you, hello, goodbye, in whatever language of the country you're visiting.
Totally. And same with me and my wife. Like whenever we're in Morocco, I let her take the lead because she's Moroccan and I don't get ripped off then. And then when we're in Bangladesh, I take the lead. So like because I can speak the language and I don't get ripped off. So it's definitely you play your part a little bit and you try your best, but language is important. People learn a little
language is
somewhere,
just a little bit, and it feels good to speak Italian. It's a nice, beautiful language.
Yeah.
Okay, what shall I do next? What about back to eating and drinking? So don't eat pasta with a knife or spoon ever.
Oh, I didn't know that. It's always fork.
Yeah, just a fork.
Just a fork. Why is that?
So. I don't know. I was told off multiple times, and there's some meals where maybe I don't know, some of these pasta dishes where like they'll stick like a shrimp on, and they haven't fully prepared it. You need to like peel apart certain bits of the fish or the shrimp. I'm like, I can't do that with a fork. You gotta use some bits and pieces.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, you're supposed to just be highly skilled with the fork and spin it around and eat it.
How'd you learn that rule? How'd you know that rule? I know
from being told off by Federica multiple times.
yeah.
I think it's because she gets embarrassed. She doesn't want to be seen next to some foreigner who's using a knife with the meal. Like,
It's because I was thinking I don't know what you do is when I when I go to a new country or whatever, I'm always reading like some type of travel book or like Lonely Planet or some I'm doing a little bit of research before I go. So a lot of those customary things do come up in certain books, like don't do this, do this. But that food one is interesting because I've been in places around the world where people I haven't gotten told off or not, but I knew I was doing something wrong or something because I just didn't know, right? But I find most people are pretty understanding of it. And they'll know he's a foreigner. No one's like,
I mean, but no one's going to stop you from ordering a cappuccino after a certain time or stop you from using a knife. It's just they'll just go like, okay, that person's not from around here.
Yeah. Do you think we have stuff like that here in Canada, North America? Little rules that
I was curious. I wonder what those would be.
If I see someone eating like a pizza with a knife and fork, it's kind of off. Or if I see someone eating a hamburger and they like without their hands, it's not a rule, but those are like things that will be like, oh, maybe they're not used to it. But I think we're pretty non-regulated when it comes to food-related rules. We're just like stuck.
Okay, here's one.
Yeah.
A big one in North America, which is we've talked about it before. One of my pet peeves is tipping. So, the tipping culture is off the charts.
Horrible.
And so in Italy, you can tip. There's like where I'm living in the Netherlands, tipping is like no. It's almost like not as bad as Japan. I think in Japan it's insulting if you tip. I've never been, but apparently it's offensive to the service culture because they're doing it out of their job and you're giving them money on top of their job. They're like, I'm just doing my job. Why are you doing that? Yeah. But here in Italy, tipping is kind of a thing, but the key thing is not to overdo it. Like American standard and Canadian standard is like 15, 20%, maybe that kind of range.
No way. Yeah, crazy.
Where in Italy it should be like 10% or a few coins, like just something to show that you're appreciating it. And it doesn't have to be every single time, but like, don't go overboard because they're going to think just going to think you're being obnoxious or maybe they won't say no, right? They're giving you a lot of money and some cash, but generally speaking, don't try and recreate the American Canadian tipping culture in Italy. Let's not change things here, people. Because the other thing about it is that the service culture in Italy it's very proud in some places. I've been to some restaurants where it's like they really treat it as a profession and they're paid a bit more, I think, than in North America.
The food, yeah.
Because in North America, you're essentially like subsidizing their what they're not getting paid by the owner of the restaurant because it's like mandated by law in many states and provinces that the restaurant and bar staff are paid less.
Yeah.
Their minimum wage is like, I don't know what it is now, but it used to be like $5 an hour, whereas the rest of the population's minimum wage was like $9. Whereas here, the service minimum wage is the usual. Yeah. So in summary, you don't have to tip every single person, but just a reasonable amount when you do.
Yeah, I'm not cheap, but I generally don't tip. like I do tip. I tip if I sit down at a restaurant. I never tip on takeaway because it makes no sense to me. And when I do tip, I don't use 10 or 15. I just look at the number and based on the service, I'll kind of round up to the nearest whole number. And pre-GST, pre-PST, I don't tip on tax. So, and if no one likes my tipping, then screw you. That's fine. It's my money. I don't have trillions of dollars. But even then, like, I understand they work hard and everything, but it's a horrible system here. And we should just regulate the price of everyone should just get paid the same salary or same wage. And then tipping should be the same culture as what you've said it. If you get it, it's good. If you don't, it's no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told you I hate the expectation of it. That's my main thing that I find annoying. It's like, it's horrible. The standard. Whereas like if you had a great meal or a great service experience, give them some money to compliment them for their good work. Otherwise, I'm like, you're just doing your job.
I don't know if I told you now, I was with, it's my only time in my life that this has happened. I was with a bunch of people, two other guys. We were eating sushi and we split the bill. And so I thought my friend took care of the total tip. No, we didn't have to break it down. So I didn't give any tip. And I went and, oh my gosh, I remember it's so embarrassing. And the guy at the restaurant who charged my card was like, oh, was there a problem? And I said, no. And he said, well, you didn't tip us anything. And I thought, didn't my friend tip? He's like, no, you have to. And like, he actually confronted me about it. And so then what was there for me to do? It's be like, no tip. So then I had to add a tip onto it just to kind of like keep it calm. And
just get pressured. Yeah.
Oh, it's horrible. But you know what? I've gotten to a point, even yesterday we went to a restaurant and they did a good job, but I mean, I just gave a couple bucks here. I'll tip what I have to, and if you have a problem with it, we can have a discussion, but fuck off. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's COVID time, man. Like, I mean, we don't all have like unlimited amounts of money just to give on tip. And anyways, sorry, I digress.
Yeah, for sure. It's and that's the other thing is that, you cannot tip. So when you go to restaurants and bars in Canada, it's like part of the card payment process where it's like add tip 15, 10. I think like it's quite standard to have it there.
I go to number four, other, always.
Yeah, and you always feel a sense of pressure because they give you the terminal and they kind of hover over you and it gives you like these standard things. Whereas in Italy, they told us like that's not even accepted because there's a bit of concern around I don't know if I should say, but like, fraud and corruption, that sort of thing. So they don't like having that kind of stuff on the terminals. But for some reason, they're like, no, if there's ever a tip, it's got to be in cash. Which, whatever. But which is a do. A do is have cash because Italy is much more of a cash country than, I don't know, the Netherlands or Canada. It's not a standard thing.
I think the whole world is so weird. I was telling when we were in Turkey, we were also cash based, mostly because we were foreigners and we didn't have a local bank account. But one thing I noticed is so I've been in Canada for 9 months now since we moved back. I think I've used cash like 3 times in the last 9 months. Everything else is just card. It's kind of convenient, but kind of scary too. That like it's just like everything's card. Even parking meters are like card. You know what I mean? So I think there's also, by the way, I don't know if people know this and stuff, but governments prefer cards. So then, they can know what you're doing. And like, I mean, not in a big brother way, but like everything can be calculated in a financial aspect. Whereas with cash, it's hard to trace everything, right? So all these companies and governments and organizations would vastly prefer it if you use cash. And they'll tell you that, if you use a card, because they can track all these things, but they'll tell you it's for your convenience, it's cheaper, it's less burdensome. But there's definitely that aspect of being able to track expenditures, what's going on. And I heard also that if you're into stocks, which Dave and I are interested in, there's going to be a huge push in the next couple of years of getting more countries on board with Visa and MasterCard, especially in the third world, right? So like those stocks might it might skyrocket up. So like, because those are pretty much the 2 biggest providers, right? It's like Visa, MasterCard, and then like Amex and Diners Club, but I've never used an Amex or a Diners Club. It's always Visa for me, pretty much. So like,
they're pretty much the standard.
Can you use all those cards in Venice? I know cash, but could you use your card?
So I mean, most places you can use card, but there's a lot of places that are kind of like the corner bar where you have your espresso. They're going to be like, what, you want to pay card for a €1 coffee? That's not worth it then, because they're not going to make any money on that transaction. So I just think for those like smaller transactions, it's better to have a few coins on you.
So just on a side, do you remember in Malaysia? So I was a partner in a restaurant in Malaysia, and we had a card POS system, like a point of sale. So we got a card and stuff. So when we got it, I didn't really know anything about how I know how the system worked, but I wasn't really oriented on it. So when we got it, I started reading more about it. And like, they take such a minuscule amount, but it's based on quantity, right? Like they're working on like, I think these guys must be like Visa, MasterCard, all these companies, they must be making so much money because so many people use their card, and just this portion of a portion, but millions, a billion times a day.
It's such a good business. It's like a river of money, and they're just sticking their finger in it and taking a little bit each time.
It's wonderful. And then it's like the whole like, no, because they know, right? No, don't pay your bill this month. Like, take another 2 months to pay.
Oh man. I got caught off on a few times with that. Because I still have a Canadian credit card, and I'm not always so diligent about checking my Canadian account because I do everything in the Netherlands. Then sometimes I'll be like, oh, I forgot about this like recurring payment, like some subscription I had, and it was like a week late. And I'm like, oh no, my credit's ruined.
They love, especially here, they love chucking credit cards in your faces because they want you to like have bad credit and they want you to build up. But then the opposite is the true too. If you get a credit card and you're really diligent and you pay everything, they hate you because they're not making any money.
They're making any money. Yeah.
Which is
because the interest on that is insane. They just make so much money.
When I was young, I made the stupid mistake of, you can actually use your credit card as a debit card. Oh, sorry, you can take money out of against your so stupid. I took like $100 and the interest was like crazy on it, so I paid it back. But that was a mistake.
Now I got burned on that. When I first moved to London, I was short of pounds, and so I was like, oh, I'll just use my credit card. And then there was like a double whammy of, you're not usually meant to take out money with your credit card and in a foreign currency. Oh, it was brutal.
They love you. Well, you and I have had this discussion multiple times. Is like we don't get financial education as children or as teens or as youth or even in university. This is all stuff I've learned by experience, right? And like this is stuff people should know ahead of time. Like try to work on debit. Don't build your credit. Make sure you pay your bills on time. Especially when you're like the best is when you're overseas and you're using your credit card, your debit card. Like you said, not only is there the conversion fee, there's the withdrawal fee, this, that they make tons of money off you, man. So like, yeah, cash really is king when it comes to traveling, but
it's a challenge.
I sorry, just on a quick, but one positive was that in when I lived in Turkey, I would live there during a time where the Turkish lira really just fell. Like it was so bad, which was great for us because we were working in American dollars. And there was a bank literally next to our house. Anytime I needed to convert, I would go there. And this was the first time in the world I realized the bank rate was really good, and I used to check online. So I'd always go next door and get like Turkish lira, and I didn't lose anything if I had gone to another place, which is strange because here in Canada, and I'm assuming in Europe as well, if you go to the bank to exchange currency, they probably take a huge chunk of that exchange.
Oh yeah, massively.
Yeah.
Massively.
So anyways, sorry.
No, these are all big problems. But yes, I'll move back to my list. And
are we gonna do or a don't now?
I don't know. So I'm gonna go with a do.
Okay.
So this one is about greetings.
Okay.
So when you're greeting someone like a friend or a family, someone you've met before, basically.
Yeah.
It's standard practice to do the kiss on the cheek, and this is a mistake I first made when I moved to the UK. Europe, it's not so common in the UK, but London has lots of like internationals. This is embarrassing. I'm really embarrassed by this, but because it's not common in Canada at all.
No way.
Right? People are like. I've actually realized that Canadians are a bit more like Japanese than anything, because like even when I meet really, of course, like when I meet my close friends after a while, I'll give them a hug and say hi. But like some other people, I'll just sort of like nod at them or like go, hey. It's very, very informal.
Yeah.
So when I first studying in London, there's a lot of people doing these like cheek kisses.
Cheek kisses.
And I actually kiss people on the cheek. And I'm like, you're not supposed to actually kiss them. I was so embarrassed. People are like, you're not supposed to actually kiss them. I'm like, what are you guys doing then? Because I was watching them, and they're some of them were like they were touching.
Yeah.
So it's very important. People in North America, it's just kiss the air. It's air kisses.
Yeah.
And especially in COVID times, I don't know how that's working out. You don't see those anymore.
In Italy, how many? What's the rule?
Oh, and then the other one is that I had to look this up because it's which side do you approach? That's always the awkward thing. Because I ended up kissing a couple Italians in my program because we both went the same direction. I was like, whoop. So when greeting in Italy, you go for the left. So you kiss on the left, and then you go to the right. So it's just 1, 2. And man and woman, like men will do it to the men. It's not a thing about man, woman. It's everyone gets the same greeting.
Okay.
Whereas like some macho people might think, oh, I won't do that. That's not manly. It doesn't matter. Everyone does that.
Yeah.
What's actually interesting is because you lived in Turkey for some time, as we know.
Yeah.
I think I saw some men holding hands there.
Yeah. That's true. Like, I think in a lot of countries around the world, like guys, like there's this, like, it's not non-sexual or anything, but it's like a friendship, like hand holding and like walking around. In Turkey, I didn't really see it. I've seen it in Bangladesh. I've seen it in more like Asian countries. Like it's more like a gesture of friendship and love and companionship in a platonic way. But we definitely don't have those things in North America. No kissing on cheek. In Morocco, same thing. They kiss on the cheeks, and so I still joke with my wife that I still don't really know how many number of times it is because different people do a different number. What I do is I let the other person lead in a good relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't do kisses. I just kind of move my mouth. It's more of a
kind of lean. Yeah.
And maybe there might be So, but we should try to implement that here in North America, in Canada.
Let's see how that goes. You'll get arrested in no time.
You kissing?
Yeah, there'll be some sort of harassment lawsuit.
But it's cool. I mean, it's definitely something that makes you feel integrated into local culture and part of it.
But I'm sure with COVID, it's been extinguished. I haven't seen a single person do that. Elbow kisses. But yeah, that was kind of a nice thing to see. It feels like a very nice way to greet people. Very friendly. So that was a do. Let's go back to the don'ts. So this one is about dressing.
Oh, cool.
So generally speaking, I know you're on holiday. Italy is a wonderful place that many people travel to on holiday.
Yeah.
But don't dress like you're at the beach or that you're going to the gym when you're in the city. Like,
big problem here.
I think probably more of a problem for the Americans than most. And it's so easy in a city like Venice to be like, that's an American. That's a whatever. Because generally speaking, Italians dress well.
Yeah.
They don't dress like over the top. It's not like they're always wearing suits and ties or shirts and whatever, but they'll have, maybe some nice shorts on and a polo and some nice sandals. But what they won't do is have flip-flops, Nike running shorts, and like, Under Armour or something like that.
Yeah.
Because that's like, what are you doing? Are you about to go for a run, or are you going somewhere? Why are you dressed in this way? Just dress as if you're in a city. Is
it true to say, would it like classy, not trashy? Is sort of the Italian approach to fashion. Like, like I know what you mean. Like when you can easily pinpoint a North American, especially an American everywhere, because they always seem to dress like they dress back home, even if it's inappropriate where you're dressing. And like, I've seen it so many times, and sometimes you just want to go up to them and be like, dude, what are you doing, man? Like, or ma'am, what are you doing? But are Italian, like what are young people in Italy like starting to dress a little bit more revealing and Western and like inappropriate, like sort of here? Or is there like still like a structure they follow in terms of Italian culture with clothing?
Well, I think generally speaking, the level of dress is pretty good. Yeah. And I think, I kind of struggled with it too in Canada, is that there's actually not that many places that I find work for me, like for clothing.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty slim guy.
Yeah.
And a lot of the clothing is very large.
Yeah.
So like actually, for example, this t-shirt that I'm wearing right now is, it's from a Dutch brand, and it's a small. So I'm a small person in the Netherlands. Dutch people are very tall.
Yeah.
But then I looked at the label and it said XXS USA.
Oh.
So this is extra small USA style.
Yeah.
So like the clothing is generally bigger and baggier, and the fit is very different to like a European fit.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, I find like the clothing stores, there used to be like some decent options. I'm talking about Ottawa, where I'm from, but like used to be like J. Crew and Club Monaco, which are places that kind of fit me.
Yeah.
And I think now when I went back, some of them have closed up.
Yeah.
And you're kind of left with Old Navy and these bigger kind of brands, which
American Eagle.
They don't have them here. American Eagle.
We do like crap clothes here, so like we do really like.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
I mean, they have fast fashion here, of course. Like Zara and H&M, they're European brands, and they're trash. Like, as in it's like throwaway clothing. But generally speaking, I think the standard of clothing is a bit higher. But yeah, like now that Americans can travel again, you can definitely notice them. It's very, very easy. Baseball cap.
Yeah,
that's a giveaway.
Yeah.
Socks and sandals. It's a really bad one.
I find that the Americans, by the way, whenever I've traveled around the world, I feel like they just like they don't really take cultural sensitivities into mind. I find that they just feel like whatever I do back home, I can do here. They're always wearing like guys, like, you can, and by the way, like, I think you and I can do this because like we're from North America. I can kind of tell where people from in America by their dress as well. So you got a lot of like country folk and like, Southerners who wear like half sleeves and they're tattooed up and they look like cowboys. And then like a lot of like the ones who are from the North wear this and that. And I find that women especially, and it's happening with men too, they wear really revealing clothes when they travel. And I sometimes think like, I wonder what the locals think. Because like, some cultures are not as open-minded or not as like liberal with their clothing as it is. But Americans seem to be like, I don't care. I'm going to wear what I want to wear, right? And like in Turkey, we saw it so much too. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, what are you wearing, man? This is like a family institution,
Yeah, I mean, it is an issue in Italy because there's a lot of really nice Catholic churches.
Sure.
And there's one just around the corner. And it says like, don't show your shoulders,
Yeah,
wear respectful clothing,
yeah.
and
That's a comment, by the way. If you, sorry, just want to say, no, if you visit I've actually noticed if you visit any religious sites, mostly around the world, mosques, churches, temples, a lot of them will say, even in Southeast Asia, like Hindu temples and stuff, they'll also have little notes on like the fact that this is a place of worship, please dress appropriately. A lot of them will give you clothes to wear, like to cover yourself up. But like, yeah, like you'll see like women in like short shorts and like thongs, like foot thongs, and,
yeah.
and like big, like going into churches and stuff. And I'm like, come on, man, like this is like we should respect local cultures and like local customs here. Not just you wouldn't wear this to your church back, or maybe you would. I don't know, but like
Maybe they would. I think that's the problem.
But I think one thing about Italy that would be cool is because there's so much fashion in the culture. It'd be nice to dress up and like just like be in Italy and be like one of the locals, right? Like,
but you do see that too. Is that I think you also see some tourists who are conscious of that style, but then they want to be like Italian in their dress, and you can tell they're kind of doing it a notch just above what an Italian would do.
They're wearing like a suit and like three-piece suit.
Yeah, or they have like this big like hat which almost looks like a sombrero, and I don't know. It just seems like it's hard to pull off. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not anywhere close to a fashionista.
But at least you have a consult, like a personal consult, like
I have an advisor who tells me like get changed. You can't go out with that.
When you go to your partner Frederica's mom's village, I'm assuming it's probably a little bit more conservative, right? A little bit more hidden. Like people are a little bit more traditional minded with clothes.
A little bit. I mean, the thing is, it's a village in the mountains.
Yeah.
So of course you're not going to have like fashionistas and people wearing suits because that would just look ridiculous and it's impractical.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's nice clothing, but it's functional clothing. I think it's quite common with many places around the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is nice. Italy is quite nice for style. You can find some nice stuff here.
Yeah.
Sure. Let's move on to the next one.
Okay.
Here's a don't. It won't apply to you, but don't get drunk.
Oh. Okay. Publicly.
This is really funny, actually. So last night we were having a drink by the water around the corner here, and we were just sitting. It was really nice and relaxing. And there was like a drunk tourist. He walked into me. And he like crashed into me. And it's never happened before, maybe at a bar, but I was looking around and I was like, it was impossible for a normal person to achieve what that person did because I wasn't sticking out. My chair wasn't in the way. I was like, was I in the way? Was I bothering someone?
Yeah.
My chair was like totally like in line with the way everything should be. The guy who was about to like walk basically splash into the canals because he was so drunk.
Oh my god.
And then he like blamed his girlfriend for not showing him the way. He was just really, really drunk. But basically what I want to say is that person was not Italian. It's not common in Italy to like have these public drunkenness that you might see in the UK or in some other places where they're drinking on the metro or drinking in public and drinking to excess. So Italians, when they drink, they'll have wine with their lunch or wine with their dinner, but maybe they'll have like something strong with their coffee afterwards. But it's never like with the goal of getting drunk.
Whereas here people are like
the goal is to get as drunk as possible.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. Huh, that's very cool.
But like it's a bit European Mediterranean. So I think the stats are maybe that Italians and French might even consume more alcohol than some Brits, but it's smaller and spread out. So it's generally a healthier way of doing things.
Well, it goes completely to our Western mentality, our in North American mentality of like quantity over quality all the time. Like we just want.
Yeah.
So people like you and I know, like we know people and like Friday, Saturday night, the goal is like, let's get trashed and go to the bar and then get trashed even more. Like it doesn't happen in Italy, right? Like that's not the.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there are like young people will want to drink a lot, like anywhere in the West, but you just don't see it on the same scale.
Yeah.
It's not as apparent. So that's basically what I wanted to say on that one is like, don't be obnoxious. Don't be a jerk. Whether you have alcohol in you or not.
Good point. Good advice.
Oh, and here's another one. I'm getting to my long list of don'ts, but I'm getting close to the end. Don't worry, people.
Okay.
Don't expect everything to be open all the time.
Oh, okay.
You might have experienced this. I'm not sure in Turkey or in other places. Is that they don't open like 9 to 5,
Yeah.
the shops or restaurants. They'll actually have like an afternoon break because it does get quite hot in the afternoon, and there's a siesta. So a lot of the places you shouldn't expect from like, I don't know, 2 o'clock until 4 o'clock, or 1 o'clock, 1:30 until 4:30. All the restaurants and shops that you want to be open. Just be ready for that, people. Um, because it's very much about like the shop owner takes a break themselves and hangs out with their friends. You might see them at a bar having a few drinks themselves. But it's quite noticeable. It was a bit shocking to me when I first started traveling around like Southern Europe, because it's not common in Northern Europe. Like you won't see that too much in the Netherlands or Germany or the UK. It's just not a done thing. But like in France, in Spain, and in Italy, there's a lot more of like an afternoon shutdown, which can be
in France as well.
Yeah,
I never thought about it. I know, like,
I think it's in most like northern France, it's not a thing, but in like the Mediterranean coast, there's a bit more of like an afternoon break.
I think in most of the Mediterranean regions, so North Africa plus like that part of Europe and a little bit of the Middle East, like near the Mediterranean Ocean, I think cultures are very similar in that in not only food and lifestyle, but also how all work operates and like being family oriented. So it's very common that like there's like a break, and then there's certain foods, even the alcohol thing. I know in North Africa, they're mostly Muslim countries, so they don't drink, but that idea of just not doing things to excess, but still enjoying life, but doing it in a consistent fashion, as opposed to just Friday, Saturday nights, and etc.
Yeah. And the working hours reflect that. So it's not like
Totally.
they feel like they have to be on all the time.
Yeah.
And another thing is
yeah.
Oh,
go ahead, please. You finish.
Well, kind of attached to this is that like when you're at a shop, maybe at a clothing store, and you're kind of waiting to be served.
Yeah.
You might be waiting a while because the staff will be like devoted to that person. Whereas in other places, they might have more people greeting you and saying, hello, how can I help? Da, 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 da. You might be ignored for a while. And it's not necessarily them being rude, but they're just devoted to like the customer who came in first.
It's so funny you say these things, because it's completely like the opposite here. You know, the way we grew up, where like our way of life and everything, we're like 9 to 5, go, eat your lunch at your table, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And it's like work, and then 5 to 9 again, or whatever, you get 18 hours off, and then like Saturday, Sunday. And like, I feel like we're just like machines and cogs all the time, just working, doing this. And then like there, it's sort of like, let's enjoy it. Let's take a break even in the middle of the day. And I like that mentality. It's one of the hardest things for me to switch over to, because I wasn't really raised that way, but I think it's healthier in the long run for sure. You know?
For sure. I think there is a pretty healthy lifestyle here, as you mentioned. Like the food is quite good.
Yeah. Balance.
There's not too much drinking to excess. The weather's good.
Yeah.
It's a nice life. But the problem is, generally speaking, is the economies. People generally say there's not many jobs here. So they have to go to where the weather is a bit crappy in Northern Europe to have a bit more of a better chance of a stable job. Because there is a lot of people who are saying like Italy's tough for jobs, and Southern European countries often have challenges for that. But there's trade-offs, you know. You have a nice meal, nice food, longer life, maybe a little less in the bank.
Yeah, it's a good way to look at it.
What shall I do? I think for the do's, I'm running low here, but basically my last one is do be adventurous. Don't like come to Italy and just order a lasagna, pizza, pasta bolognese, all the things that you had at home. There's other Italian dishes, and you should try them. Just 100%. Maybe try some things that you don't recognize on the menu, 100%. And you'll get disappointed, but now you know. So I think there are, and it is kind of cool maybe to try some like pizza in Italy, but like don't come to Venice for good pizza. That's a big no-no. They don't do that. Pizza is from down south. So don't like go around expecting every single thing you had in the Italian restaurant back home to be like well done at every single Italian restaurant here, because you're in Italy and there's different regions and different places, and there'll be lots of different options. So I think the good thing is to just try lots of things. Don't go to the tourist traps where there's a guy standing outside with a menu and there's a multilingual lingual menu there. It's a big red
I
flag.
don't know. They have like 1,000 items that they can cook for you.
Yeah.
I think that's such a good point, is that when you go, like the ultimate point of a holiday is not only rest and relaxation, but to experience other cultures and other things, and like totally be adventurous, try different things. And if you don't like it, at least you tried, right? Go to different places and get out of your comfort zone. It's really, I think looking back on my life, traveling has been probably one of the best experiences ever. I mean, I met my wife and had a family because of it, which is great. But also like I just got to see things and do things, and I think I would not trade those experiences for anything in the world. Like I think they really help grow you as a person. So you traveled a lot too. I know we've talking about that. It's one of the best things you can do. And then like I'm sort of in a phase now. I don't know if you feel like it now, but like I'm kind of really tired of traveling at the moment in life, and I have multiple other things happening, and maybe, and you know, hopefully. But like in my growing up, we traveled a lot thanks to my parents. In my 20s, I traveled a lot as well. It was one of those things, and I just got that bug, and I did it. It was amazing, right? Like I think the bad experiences were outweighed by the good ones, and then the good ones by the bad ones. But it was something you did, because the alternative is just sitting in your house in Nepean or Canada doing nothing for the rest of your life.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it was Mark Twain who said travel is fatal to prejudices.
Yeah.
So like it does shatter a lot of preconceived notions you have about the world, about people in different countries.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, I find people are nice in most places.
Agreed.
And I was thinking also, I was saying that another story I was babbling on about yesterday. Canada has, this isn't in no way something to criticize Canadians.
Yeah.
Because the stereotype about Canadians is that they're nice.
Yeah.
But I'm like, people are nice. I've experienced nice people everywhere, but I've also experienced like nasty people. And I think generally speaking, wherever you go, you might get people go, is it safe to go here? What's this place like? Keep your bags close to you. And when I first was traveling to like London and Paris, these places as a kid with my family, I was reading these Lonely Planet guides, and I had this like little fanny, what do you call it, the fanny pack thing, and I would hide it in the money belt. And I was like pickpockets everywhere, thieves everywhere, because the guide said, watch out for this. And then when I lived there, I'm like, I was being so stupid and so paranoid. Of course there's a risk that can happen, and it does happen. But if you just like behave like a normal person, you'll be all right. Because I see these people now, because I was doing that stuff when I was first traveling. They'll put like the backpack on their front. They'll have everything on their thing. And I'm like, these are the people who are going to let their guard down or do something stupid. So I'd follow them.
Generally speaking, I agree with you. I find that there are bad people everywhere in the world, but I would never accustom that to an entire group of people. There's just the individual, just like here in Canada, right? But I find most people are extremely hospitable, very nice, willing to help. I've had people tell me that they could kind of, like, if I ever have problems, like, you know, here's my number. You can even stay with us if you need, like in a very like non-creepy, like a nice way, which I you know, take it. I think one of the problems with tourism is that most people want adventure, but they're not adventurous in the sense that they still go to like tour guides or tour groups. And that's where things like that happen, where they're like, remember in Rome, everyone's a scammer. Keep your money on, like, you know, there's pickpocketers and stuff like that. But I think if you're like, I stopped doing tour guides like a long time ago. I just planned my own trips. And so like, and I find that like at the end of the day, you'll still get like a great trip out of it. And then you'll save a little bit of money, because I think packages are overpriced. But you'll figure it out, you know what I mean? And like, it's really like, it's good to go with groups, it's family, by yourself, but just get out there and travel and see the world, because it really just opens your eyes and just shows you how much people have in common. And it's a really
and like try and go off the beaten path a little bit. Even in a crazy touristed city like Venice, there's places that are like hidden side streets, neighborhoods that not many people go to, and you realize that when you come here, that like 90% of the tourists will go to the center, and that's all they see. And it's, of course, if they're on a limited time frame, schedule, budget, whatever, that's understandable. But there's so much more to see, and you know, expand your horizons and check out some other parts.
What's now I know it's a little early, premature, but what would be your next trip that you're hoping to go to after Italy? Whether that be next year or 6 months or whatever down the line, is there an intention to go somewhere or wanting to go somewhere?
Well, I mean, the first port of call whenever I can will be home to Canada or the UK because I haven't seen family in
Yeah.
so long. So that's
Yeah.
very nice. Um, but in terms of leisure travel, I think I Japan has been on the bucket list for a long time.
That's cool.
So I think Japan is on the list, but in reality, probably go to one or two other European countries just because of convenience.
Yeah, because it's so close to where you are. It's like pretty much you get there in an hour or two, right?
Yeah, it's like it's Candyland. Like each within an hour, 2 hours, different culture, language, scenery. It's amazing.
How many EU countries do you think you've been to? There's like 26 or 27, right?
I think I've been to pretty much all of them except for like the smaller
Like
countries, like Lithuania, Latvia. I've been to yeah, except for the very small countries. I've been to all of them.
wow, that's amazing. That's cool.
Yeah,
I was looking at the map the other day and like, or I was just thinking, I've not been to any countries in Latin America. That's like pretty much the only place in the world the
yeah,
only
me
continent
neither.
I haven't been to. I kind of don't have an interest to go. I mean, I don't mean it in a disrespectful way. Maybe later in life I will, but to me, it's just like a little like it's so far away and it's not really my thing at the moment. But maybe I will. I think for us, Europe, and I'd like to go back to Morocco to see my in-laws and my family and introduce my son to them and like their grandchild. But also, I'd like to go to like Scotland and Ireland and just go sit in the Highlands and drink coffee and do nothing else.
Drive an Aston Martin around
Yeah, like James
and
Bond.
do the
Uh,
James Bond thing.
yeah. I think yeah. And then like, have you been to the States in a while, or is it
It's been a long, long time since I've been to the US.
over a
Yeah,
decade? I think. I think probably New York, Los Angeles, the stand, maybe Austin, Texas.
that'd be cool. I'd like to go to some of the hipster cities like
Yeah,
Austin and
Portland.
Portland.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, the southern US I'd like to go to as well. I would like to experience a bit of that. Yeah, I think the last time I've been to the US was just sort of passing through on the way to Canada. I
Yeah.
can't really think of the last time I properly went on holiday there, ages ago.
Uh, I'm gonna wait it out until things are a little bit like calmer and easier and safer, and then
Fair enough.
and then just drive across. RV's on the list too one day. Just,
Very nice. Camper van.
but thanks for your do's and don'ts. I think they apply not only to Italy but just generally. I mean, the specific ones to Italy, but to many places. But people should definitely try to kind of do a little bit of research and just enjoy, right? Just enjoy.
Oh, and throw away the selfie sticks. You don't see those so much anymore. But,
Yeah, that was a big thing for a while, and then it's just like a passing trend, I guess. It didn't. Did you ever get one?
no way, no way.
I never got one, but my dad had one, and then like you'd connect it and hook it up, and that I'm not my lovely wife and I sort of have a disagreement on one thing. Was that like I'm not a big photo person generally, and especially when I travel, I don't really take a lot of photos. I mean, I try to just enjoy what's happening, and my wife likes to take photos, which is fair, like for memories and you know keep them. So like I don't know what you and your partner are like, but yeah,
We're
that's
the same.
same.
I don't like posing. I just don't like yeah.
Yeah, like
I like candid shots. Like if someone take pictures of me while I'm doing stuff, that's
well,
fine.
do you remember growing up? We didn't have smartphones. We had film
Oh,
reels, which had only 24 shots. So you had to be very strategic with your shots because, and now
I tried to be like 20 of them were terrible and like maybe 3 of them were usable. They were
yeah,
always pretty bad
and one was
pictures.
like blurry. So like now you
Yeah.
can take multiple, you can take thousands of the same photo and it doesn't take any energy, right? So it's sort of like it's for you and I guess it's sort of like we got to pose for longer, but it's okay. At the end of the day, they're memories, so I don't mind. But like when I travel,
Try to see the world with your own eyes and experience it. You'll remember that longer than those photos.
there we go. That's a nice way to
There we
end.
go.
Thanks, Dave.
There we
Well, I
go.
hope you have a good
Well,
rest
I
of
hope
the
you found that useful.
No,
And
I hope you can
yeah,
implement some of those rules and then enjoy the rest of your trip and have fun. And you deserve R&Rs.
grazie, grazie.
No problem. Prego. Is that right?
Sure.
All right, Dave. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, Dosh. Bye.